I want to welcome you all to Battleground High School's 10th Poetry Out Loud competition. I'm Daniel Hidden, one of the English teachers here at Battleground High School, and there are several groups I want us to welcome. First, all the reciters. And well done with all the work that you did to get here. Also, parents and friends. Thank you for all the encouragement that you've given. Teachers, for taking the time. Teachers for taking the time to make this happen in their classes. I also want to offer a special welcome to our judges. Our first judge is Denny Waters. He helps run our district. Also, we have Jay Atwood. He's a Battleground veteran of many poetry competitions. We have Sharp Gord, Battleground head principal. Kathy Ferrier, Battleground English teacher. Annie Carmichael, Battleground counselor. Scott Yingling, Battleground principal. Heather Ichimura, Battleground principal. We also have Julie Main. She is an English teacher and will be our accuracy judge. Then we also have Ashley Mountain. She is our prompter and an English teacher here. And our score calculators, English teachers Mary Metcalf and Heather Smithline. So as many of you know, the Poetry Out Loud competition requires students to choose, memorize, understand, and recite a classic or contemporary poem. They are scored on their ability to communicate the meaning of the poem to an audience. The reciters today represent the hard work of many classes here at Battleground, and they are the winners of class competitions. We are here to decide the one who will represent Battleground High School at the Vancouver Regionals competition. From there, they may go on to state and then on to nationals, where there's $50,000 in prizes. The contestants are scored in 6 categories: accuracy, physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, and overall performance. Now, as an audience, there's a few things that you can do. First, silence your phones and listen enthusiastically. Feel free to applaud through clapping, snapping, or sign language. And contestants, watch the order in the program, and we will pause for the judges in between each recitation. I'll introduce you. There's also an on-deck seat, and so I'll let you know if you're on deck, and so you'll be after the person reciting. If you find yourself stuck, you can look to Ashley Mountain, and she will help you if you look to her and say, line. As well, please pass by Miss Mountain on your way back to your seats for your official certificate. All right, so our first reciter is Michael Stukov, and on deck is Ellen Heidegger.
Symptoms of Prophecy by Camille Rankine. In the new century, we lose the art of many things. For example, at the beep, I communicate using the wrong machine. I call to say we have 2 lives, but only one of them is real. When the phone rings, you could be anybody. In both my lives, my nerves go bust. I'm certain that I'm not. And hunting for a good light, as any to make a place for a bed in the night. The struggle is authenticity. I have a message. You must believe me.
So while the judges are tallying up their scores, I'll explain the first category, physical presence. So for this category, the judges look for eye contact with the entire audience, not just the judges. They look for good posture and that kind of body language that shows confidence. Also, they look for poise, that the reciter is comfortable and at ease with the audience. All right. Up next. We'll have Ellen Heidegger. And then on deck is Katherine Gamblin.
Eagle Poem by Joy Harjo. To pray you open your whole self, to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you, and know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know, except in moments steadily growing and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion, like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky and wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we are born, and die soon within a true circle of motion. Like eagle rounding out the morning inside us, we pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty.
A second category the judges are looking for is voice and articulation. For this, they are looking for how that the reciter can capture the whole audience, not just the front row, but also the back row. That the reciting it moves along at a fitting and natural pace. Also, they listen for the pauses that show meaning. For a rhymed poem, they listen that it's not done in a sing-song manner, and that the reciters articulate each word of the poem. And, all right. For up next is Katherine Gamblin, and on deck is Colton Sahota.
Say Grace by Emily Jungmin Yoon. In my country, our shamans were women, and our gods multiple, until white people brought an ecstasy of rosaries, and our cities today glow with crosses like graveyards. As a child in Sunday school, I was told I'd go to hell if I didn't believe in God. Our teacher was a woman whose daughters wanted to be nuns, and I asked, what about babies? And what about Buddha? And she said, they're in hell too. And so I memorized prayers and recited them in front of women I do not believe in. Deliver us from evil, O sweet Virgin Mary, amen. O sweet, in this country, which calls itself Christian, what is sweeter than hearing, have mercy on us, from those who serve different gods? O clement, O loving, O God amidst ruins, amidst waters, fleeing, deliver us from evil. Oh sweet, in this country, point at the moon, at the stars, point at the way the lake lies with a handful of feathers. And they will look at the feathers and kill you for it. If a word for religion they don't believe in is magic, so be it. Let us have magic. Let us have our own mothers and scarves, our spirits, our shamans, and our sacred books. Let us keep our stars to ourselves, and we shall pray to no one. Let us eat what makes us holy.
The next category is dramatic appropriateness. And this is how a reciter will subtly enhance the understanding and enjoyment of a poem without overshadowing the language. So the judges are looking for movements and accents that don't distract from the poem's voice and not acting out a poem. Occasional gestures and avoiding a monotone delivery. Up next, we have Colton Sahota, and then in the program we're passing over Alivia, and so Riley Jackson is on deck.
After the War by Rachel Galvin. When he got to the farmhouse, he rifled through the cabinets, drawers, and cupboards, and his buddies did too. The place was abandoned, or so he thought, and his buddies did too. He tried to talk to people in town, and his buddies did too, but he was the only one whose Yiddish made it across into German. They took his meaning. He, in the farmhouse, took a camera and a gun, but his buddies, who knows? About the gun, it's also hard to say, but after the war, he took up photography. Why not? And shot beautiful women for years. Got pretty good at it, and how? Won prizes and engraved plates, put them in a drawer. Forgot the war, forgot his buddies, forgot the women, forgot the drawer.
The next category is evidence of understanding. This category is to evaluate the comprehension and mastery of the poem. The judges listen for the interpretation of the tone, the volume, and the voice of the poem. Is it a quiet poem, a boisterous poem? Should it be slow or quick, happy or mournful? There are messages, meanings, and allusions, irony, tones in the poem, in the voice as they recite it. And are these communicated? And up next, we have Riley Jackson. And on deck is Grace Sigler.
The Mortician in San Francisco by Randall Mann. This may sound queer, but in 1985, I held the delicate hands of Dan White. I prepared him for burial. By then, Harvey Milk was made monument, no, myth, by the years since he was shot. I remember when Harvey was shot, 20, and I know I was queer. Those were the years. Levi's and leather jackets, holding hands on Castro Street, cheering for Harvey Milk, elected on the same day as Dan White. I often wonder about Supervisor White, who fatally shot Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Milk, who was one of us, a Castro queer. May 21st, 1979, a jury hands down the sentence, 7 years. In truth, 5 years for ex-cop, ex-fireman Dan White, for the blood on his hands when he confessed that he had shot the mayor and the queer. A few men in blue cheered. And Harvey Milk? Why cry over spilled milk? Some wondered. Semi-privately, for years, it meant one less queer. The jurors turned to White. If just the mayor had been shot, Dan might have had trouble on his hands, but the 12 who held his life in their hands maybe didn't mind the death of Harvey Milk. Maybe the second murder offered him a shot at only serving a few years. In the end, he committed suicide, this Dan White, and he was made presentable by a queer.
The next category is overall performance. Has the recitation become more than the sum of its parts? Did they captivate the audience with the language of the poem? Did they bring the audience to a better understanding of the poem? Did the presence, voice, and movements all seem to target and unify to breathe life into the poem? And did they show mastery of the art of recitation? Up next, we have Grace Sigler, and on deck is Daniela Reyes.
April Love by Ernest Dowson. We have walked in love's land a little way. We have learned his lesson a little while. And shall we not part at the end of day with a sigh, a smile? A little while in the shine of the sun, we were twined together, joined lips, forgot how the shadows fall when day is done and when love is not. We have made no vows, there will none be broke. Our love was free as the wind on the hill. There was no word said, we need wish unspoke. We have wrought no ill. So shall we not part at the end of day, who have loved and lingered a little while? Join lips one last time, go our way, with a sigh, a smile.
We've ran out of categories. So in between, while the judges are scoring, I'll tell you a couple dumb jokes. So we'll start with some poetry jokes. How do poets say hello? Hey, haven't we metaphor? What is the highest honor among cowboy poets? A poet laureate. And how does a poet sneeze? Haiku. Up next is Daniela Reyes, and on deck, we'll be passing over Taylor Carey, and Alivia Balch is on deck.
When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. When you are old and gray and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes had once and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace and loved your beauty with love false or true? But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur, a little sadly, how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead and hid his face amid a crowd of stars.
Why are poets always so poor? Because rhyme doesn't pay. Where do poems come from? Poetries. What did the poet say to Luke Skywalker? Metaphors be with you. And a thesaurus is great. There's no other word for it. Oh, that was bad. Up next is Alivia Balch, and on deck is Jillian Kemp.
A Boat Beneath the Sunny Sky by Lewis Carroll. A boat beneath a sunny sky, lingering onward dreamily, in an evening of July. Children three that nestle near, eager eye and willing ear, pleased a simple tale to hear. Long has paled that sunny sky, echoes fade and memories die. Autumn frosts have slain July. Still she haunts me, phantom-wise, Alice moving under skies, never seen by waking eyes. Children yet this tale to hear, eager eye and willing ear, lovingly shall nestle near. In a wonderland they lie, dreaming as the days go by, dreaming as the summers die. In ever drifting down the stream, lingering in the golden gleam, life, what is it but a dream?
Some people wanted me to put in some Baby Yoda jokes, but I didn't want to force it. Let's see. I'm not a fan of the new quarter coin design, but then again, I hate all change. A small boy swallowed some coins and was taken to the hospital. When his grandmother telephoned to see how he was, the nurse said, "No change yet." Up next is Jillian Kemp, and on deck is Morgan Godfrey.
Abandoned Farmhouse by Ted Kooser. He was a big man, say the size of his shoes, on a pile of broken dishes by the house. A tall man, too, says the length of the bed in an upstairs room. And a good, God-fearing man, says the Bible, with a broken back on the floor below the window, dusty with sun. But not a man for farming, say the fields, cluttered with boulders and leaky barn. A woman lived with him, said the bedroom walls, papered with lilacs and kitchen shelves covered in oilcloth. And they had a child, said the sandbox made from a tractor tire. Money was scarce, say the jars of plum preserves and canned tomatoes sealed in cellar hole. And the winter's cold, say the rags in the window frames. It was lonely here, says the narrow country road. Something went wrong, says the empty house in the weed-choked yard. Stones in the field say he was not a farmer. The still, sealed jars in the cellar say she left in a nervous haste. And the child? Its toys are strewn in the yard like branches after a storm. A rubber cow, a rusty tractor with a broken plow, a doll in overalls. Something went wrong, they say.
I was watching the Portland Marathon and saw one runner dressed as a chicken and another runner dressed as an egg. And I thought, this could be interesting. I decided to sell my vacuum cleaner. Well, it was just collecting dust. Why haven't aliens visited our solar system? They say the reviews only has 1 star. Up next is Morgan Godfrey, and on deck is Michelle Kelly.
Yeah, got giraffe legs, it's okay.
Every Single Day by John Straley. Suppose I said the word springtime, and I wrote the words King Salmon on a piece of paper and mailed it to you. When you opened it, would you remember that afternoon we spent together in the yellow boat when the early whales were feeding and we caught our first fish of the year? Or would you remember that time off Cape Flattery when you were a little girl, your father smoking, telling stories as he ran the boat? Then that tug and zing of that very first fish spooling off into the gray-green world. I know I'm hard to, you laughing and brushing back your hair before setting the hook. I know I'm hard to understand sometimes, particularly when you were standing at the post office with only a piece of paper saying the words King Salmon on it. But just think of it as a promissory note, and that electric tug, that thrill, pulling your mind into deep water, is how I feel about you every single day.
Before I was a teacher, I worked a few jobs. I used to work in a shoe recycling shop. It was soul-destroying. I used to work in a blanket factory, but it folded. I used to work as a butcher, but I backed into the meat grinder, and I got a little behind in my work. Up next. Please don't. Up next is Michelle Kelly, and on deck is Alyssa Wilson.
Anthem for Doomed Youth by Wilfred Owen. What passing bells? What passing bells for these who die as cattle? Only the monstrous anger of the guns. Only the stuttering rifle's rapid rattle can patter out their hasty orisons. No mockeries now for them. No prayers, nor bells, nor any voice of mourning save the choirs. The shrill, demented choirs of wailing shells and bugles calling for them from sad shires. What candles may be held to speed them all? Not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes shall shine the holy glimmers of goodbyes. The pallor of girls' brows shall be their pall. Their flowers the tenderness of patient minds, and each slow dusk a drawing down of blinds.
I was raised as an only child, which really annoyed my sister. Actually, my sister is pretty interesting. She loves to do magic tricks. In fact, she just came back from Spain where she learned to disappear on the count of 3. She counted uno, dos, poof. She disappeared without a trace. My dad suggested I register as an organ donor, for an organ donor card. He's a man after my own heart. I saw a documentary on how ships are kept together. Riveting. All right. Up next is Alyssa Wilson. On deck is Dustin Van Gorder.
Virtuosi by Lisa Mueller, in memory of my parents. People whose lives have been shaped by history, and it is always tragic, do not want to talk about it, would rather dance, give parties on thrift shop china. You feel wonderful in their homes. 2 leaky rooms nest they stowed inside their hearts on the road into exile. They know how to fix potato peelings and apple cores so you smack your lips. The words, start over again, hold no terror for them. Obediently they rise and go with only a rucksack or tote bag. If they weep, it's when you're not looking. To tame their nightmares, they choose the most dazzling occupations. Swallow the flames in the sunset sky, jump through burning hoops in their elegant tiger suits. Cover your eyes. There's one walking on a thread 30 feet above us. Shimmering points of light leap across her body, and she works without a net.
I wondered why the baseball was getting bigger. Then it hit me. To be or not to be a horse rider, that is equestrian. I used to have a fear of hurdles, but I got over it. Sleep is my favorite thing in the world. It's the reason I get up in the morning. I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down. Did you hear about the guy whose whole left side was cut off? He's all right now. Okay. Up next is Dustin Van Gorder. On deck is Lillian Reisbeck.
After the War by Rachel Galvin. When he got to the farmhouse, he rifled for the cabinets, drawers, and cupboards. And his buddies did too. The place was abandoned, or so he thought. And his buddies did too. He tried to talk to people in town, and his buddies did too. He was the only one whose Yiddish made it across into German. They took his meaning. He, in the farmhouse, took a camera and a gun. But his friends, who knows about the gun? But it's also hard to say. After the war, he took up photography. Why not? Shot beautiful women for years. Got pretty good at it. And how? Won prizes and engraved plates, put them in the drawer, forgot the war, forgot his buddies, forgot the women, forgot the drawer. Thank you.
Did you hear about the guy who got hit in the head with a can of soda? Luckily, it was a soft drink. I couldn't quite remember how to throw a boomerang, but eventually it came back to me. To write with a broken pencil is pointless. The experienced carpenter really nailed it, but the new guy screwed it up. All right. Up next is Lillian Reisbeck. On deck is Samantha Grossman.
Planetarium by Adrienne Rich. A woman in the shape of a monster. A monster in the shape of a woman. The skies are full of them. A woman in the snow among the clocks and instruments or measuring the ground with poles. In her 98 years to discover 8 comets. She, whom the moon ruled, like us, levitating into the night sky, riding the polished lenses. Galaxies of women, there doing penance for impetuousness, ribs chilled in those spaces of the mind. And I, virile, precise, and absolutely certain, from the mad webs of Uranusborg, encountering the nova. Every impulse of light exploding from the core as life flies out to us. Tycho whispering at last, let me not seem to have lived in vain. What we see, and seeing is changing. The light that shrivels a mountain and leaves a man alive. Heartbeat of the pulsar heart sweating through my body, the impulse pouring in from Taurus. I am bombarded, yet I stand. I have been standing all my life in the direct path of a battery of signals, the most accurately transmitted, most untranslatable language in the universe. I am a galactic cloud so deep, so involuted, that a light wave could take 15 years to travel through me, and has taken. I am an instrument in the shape of a woman, trying to translate images for the relief of the body and the reconstruction of the mind.
Why did Anakin Skywalker cross the road? get to the dark side. When did the Jedi start to think Anakin was heading towards the dark side? When he was in 6th grade. What did the sweet potato say to Luke Skywalker? I am your father. Why is Yoda such a good gardener? Because he has a green thumb. Why shouldn't you ask baby Yoda for money? Because he's always a little short. Last one. Who serves food at the Death Star restaurant? Darth Vader. Up next is Samantha Grossman. On deck is Evelina Shishkina.
The Echoing Green by William Blake. The sun does arise and make happy the skies. The merry bells ring to welcome the spring. The skylark and thrush, the birds of the bush, sing louder around to the bell's cheerful sound, while our sport shall be seen on the echoing green. Old John with white hair does laugh away care, sitting under the oak among the old folk. They laugh at our play, and soon they all say, such were the joys when we all, girls and boys, in our youth time were seen on the echoing green. Till the little ones weary, no more can be merry, the sun does descend, and our sports have an end. Round the laps of their mothers, many sisters and brothers, like birds in their nest, are ready for rest, and sport no more seen on the darkening green.
What did the lunch lady say to Luke Skywalker? Use the fork, Luke. What do you call potatoes that turn to the dark side? Vader tots. Where does Princess Leia go shopping for clothes? The Darth Mall. What is Jabba the Hutt's middle name? The. What did the ranker say after he ate a Wookiee? Chewy. Up next is Evelina Shishkina. On deck is Courtney Hoffman.
April Midnight by Arthur Symons. Side by side, through the streets of midnight, roaming together. Through the tumultuous night of London and the miraculous April weather. Roaming together under the gaslights, days work over. How this spring calls to us here in the city, calls to the heart from the heart of a lover. Cool to the wind blows, fresh in our faces, cleansing, entrancing. After the heat and the fumes and the footlights, where you dance and I watch your dancing. Good it is to be here together, good to be roaming, even in London, even at midnight, lovers like and lovers gloaming. You the dancer, and I the dreamer, children together, wandering lost in the night of London in the miraculous April weather.
What do you call a pirate droid? R2D2. What do you call Chewbacca when he has chocolate in his hair? A chocolate chip Wookiee. Which side of a Wookiee has the most hair? The outside. Why is Luke Skywalker always invited on picnics? Because he always has the forks with him. What do you get when you cross Darth Vader with an elephant? An elevator. Up next is Courtney Hoffman. On deck is Alex Paul Falvey.
The Obligation to be Happy by Linda Paston. It is more onerous than the rites of beauty or housework, harder than love. But you expect it of me casually, the way you expect the sun to come up, not in spite of rain or clouds, but because of them. And so I smile, as if my own fidelity to sadness were my hidden vice, that downward tug on my mouth, my old suspicion that health and love are brief irrelevancies, no more than laughter in the warm dark, strangled at dawn. Happiness. I try to hoist it on my narrow shoulders again, a knapsack heavy with gold coins. I stumble around the house, bump into things. Only Midas himself would understand.
A man is recovering from surgery when his nurse asks him how he's feeling. I'm okay, but I didn't like the 4-letter word the doctor used in surgery. Oh, what did he say? Said the nurse. Oops. The kid didn't tell his mother he ate some glue. His lips were sealed. 2 antennas met on a roof, fell in love, and got married. The ceremony wasn't much, but the reception was excellent. Up next is Alex Palfalvi. On deck is Amy Eels.
The Daring One by Edwin Markham. I would my soul were like the bird that dares the vastness undeterred. Look where the bluebird on the bough breaks into rapture even now. He sings tip-top the tossing elm as though he would a world overwhelm. Indifferent to the void he rides upon the wind's eternal tides. He tosses gladly on the gale, for well he knows he cannot fail. Knows if the bough breaks, still his wings will bear him upwards while he sings.
I went to buy some camouflage trousers the other day. I couldn't find any. A group of chess enthusiasts checked into a hotel and were standing in the lobby discussing their recent tournament victories. After about an hour, the manager came out of the office and asked them to leave. But why? They asked as they moved away. Because I can't stand chestnuts boasting in an open foyer. And our final presenter today is Amy Eels.
Mansplaining by Jennifer Militello. Dear Sir, your air of authority leaves me lost. Eases me from a place of ease. Contracts with my contradictions to take from me a place. Autopilots my autobiography, frightens my fright, sighs with my breath, wins at my race. Your certainty has me curtained. Your nerve has me nervous. Your childhood has me childlike, and your nastiness nests in my belfry like a hawk. You are beyond and above my slice of sky, peach as a pie, bourbon as its pit. You are spit and vinegar while I sour in my bowl. You bowl me over while I tread lightly on my feet. You walk on water while I sink. You witness me, fisherman, boat on the lake, while I struggle and burble and brittle and drop. You wink at me, and I must relate. I close my eyes to erase you, and you are written in my lids. A litmus test, a form of layer, God with 3 days of facial growth and an old bouquet for a face, soap and water for a brain.
I have no handsome answer. I have no pillar of salt or shoulder to look over. I have no feather to weigh. I have no bubble to burst. I am less to myself, a character in a drama, a drumbeat, a benevolence, a blight. All parts of me say shoot on sight. Aim for an artery or organ. Good night.
Let's give one more round of applause to all our reciters today. At this point, our score talliers are tallying up the scores till we get till we know our first, second, and third place reciters. And so I'm going to tell knock-knock jokes. Knock-knock. Canoe. Canoe, help me with my homework? Knock-knock. Orange. Aren't you going to let me in? Knock, knock. Iva. I have a sore hand from knocking. Knock, knock. Doesn't anybody want to let me in? Knock, knock. Needle. Need a little money for the movies? Knock, knock. Harry. Hurry up, it's cold outside. Knock, knock. I heard you were home, so I came over. Knock, knock. A door. A door is between us, open up. I got pages of these. Knock, knock. Otto. I don't know. I've got amnesia. Knock, knock. Lettuce. Let us in. It's cold out here. Knock, knock. Noah. Know a good place we can get some new jokes? Knock, knock. Dwayne. Dwayne the bathtub. It's overflowing. Knock, knock. I'm getting cold. Open the door. Knock, knock. Impatient cow. Moo. Knock, knock. Little old lady. I didn't know you could yodel. Knock, knock. Sadie. Sadie, magic word, and I'll stop telling jokes. Oh, yay! All right. Third place, we have Alyssa Wilson. Gordon, wait up here. In second place, we have Katherine Gamblin. And our first place winner is Amy Eels. Anybody wants to get pictures?